Hello, everybody, again. Welcome back to another live stream. Hope you guys had a wonderful week. We had a little bit of snow the other day, which is kind of weird. In Maryland, it could be snowing up county and then down in the southern part of the county, just rain. That's what happened the other day. But a couple nights ago, we have some snow and it was really pretty. It, of course, because of our county being in such a weird location that, like I said, the north can get some snow and the south gets rain. Schools were actually delayed. My grandson's school, I was getting ready to go pick him up because I noticed that the county schools, private school, so the county schools were open. And so I thought, okay, usually the private schools go along with the county. And so I went to pick him up, getting ready to go, when I get a notice that, oh, he's home. They're doing homeschooling today. And I go, oh, thanks for telling me. Actually, the roads were absolutely clear. And even though it was like 27 degrees, they put salt, brine, water sprayed everywhere. And that seems to work. I mean, it actually prevented any kind of icing on the roads. And that's usually why they close the schools. If even a portion of the county is a little hazardous, the whole county closes down. So that's how they do that. Not like in the Midwest where my wife grew up in Wisconsin. She walked to school in the snow. There was no such thing as a snow day. And I'm sure the teachers would have loved to have a snow day, as they seem to do here a lot. I think they get a bigger kick out of it than the students do, staying home with no schooling. Usually they just close it and that's it. You got a holiday. Anyway, welcome. We got 20 on board now. If you have never gone on the chat, please do so. Tell us who you are, where you are watching from, and of course, anything you want to talk about, because I have a lot of topics already sort of handpicked, but I will stop what I'm doing to help anyone who may have a question that is not included in what I am planning to supposedly talk about. So I will stop what I'm doing and I will go ahead and attempt to address any issues you may be having. That's what we're here for. So let me start from the very top. Let's see who the first guy this morning was, or gal. 5:56 my time AM, Nigel Waters from the UK. He always wins that prize. Canon Pro 300 with all the trimmings. Welcome, my friend. And then we have TPD. This is Ron K from Trenton, New Jersey, episode 8550, QMH Ultimate Lifetime, Canon R5 Mark II, and Canon 7D. And all you 8550 owners, you saw what we can do with the new software from, and it's DD something software. This is code. I used to just say QMH, but no, he's got an actual name to the site, and you can get Prism, Print Prism, which utilizes your printer's scanner, and we'll discuss that. I I am installed right now with, I think, the third release, third update, so 103.103. So we'll go ahead and give that a try. I've already done a couple of profiles on some just general glossy and matte paper from Staples, the office supply store here. And yeah, um, I have a $1,500 um, X-Rite i1 Pro 2. It's going to collect dust, I believe. And if this really works out to be what it claims to be, down the road, I may just sell it, because, yeah, it uses the printer scanner as a spectrophotometer. The software also is what it actually is taking the role of a spectrophotometer. The image is created with your scanner. But anyway, we'll get into the details later on today. Fred Elias is here from Warren, Michigan, 8550. Again, another 8150 owner. A Nikon D300, all OEM are papers, has Red River and other goodies. And it's 28 degrees. Yeah, it was like 27 the other day when it was snowing. And then the roads, I looked out the window. My car is covered, and the roads were just absolutely clear. So I don't know what they did. Either the roads were warm or whatever they put on them really did the job. Henry Stoffel, welcome from cold, overcast Medford, Massachusetts, Epson P800, OEM inks, and of course, Q Image Ultimate. I remember when I came back from Korea and they sent me to Fort Devens, Massachusetts, little town called Air or Air, Ayer. That's where Fort Devens is today. I think it's no longer as active as when it was when I was there in 73-ish, 74, 75, around there. I was with the 10th Special Forces Group there. And yeah, it was very Army and very combat oriented type situation. Even though we weren't really involved in anything, but we're always at the ready. But yeah, I just could not get used to the winters there. Wow, because I grew up in LA and we used to drive an hour and a half to the mountains and go high enough to catch a little bit of the remaining snow and ice and get a kick out of that. But you could also, after you get done skiing, you can go to the beach. The water would be warm. So crazy. I loved it there. But anyway, so yeah, although Massachusetts was absolutely beautiful, New England is just gorgeous. Um, just never get past the winters. Yeah. Alrighty. Let me see. Captain Donzi, cool and sunny Richmond, Virginia, Pro 100 with all the trimmings. He's got a Sony A77, A65 Coney Omega Rapid M film camera, 2.25 by 2 3/4. So that would be a 4 by 6 centimeter, right? I love that format. Photo Nikon 780, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, Canon Pro 1000, Epson EcoTank 8550, and a sick XP 15000. What's wrong with it? QMH Ultimate Print Prism. You got Print Prism, awesome. Uh, Lightroom, OEM inks, and paper plus Red River. Photo Nikon 780 says, my Epson XP 15000, the tray makes a continuous grinding sound. Oh, when retracted. Check the paper for jams. Check the printer for jams, etc. Order a new one from Epson on sale. Cyber Monday, only 4 years old. Yeah, mine is about that age. And just not too long ago, I was having an issue where grinding sounds. It wouldn't print. Nothing but grinding. And I thought, wait a minute. I print for my wife, and my wife also prints whenever she can figure out how to do it. And I think it was fine the last time we used it. Ended up, after many searches and examinations, I decided to take the duplexer unit out, and there was a piece of paper completely jammed up, and I removed that, and it was fine after that. Um, Leah Lee, hello, Mr. Rodriguez. Thanks for the recommendation regarding the use of precision color inks for the Canon 1100. From last week, I am trying to check what will give me low percentage of ink waste in the cleaning. I live in a place with high humidity. That means it helps. Two, I am also trying to find out if Epson printer P5300 performs deep cleaning at high frequencies. No, it does not. Um, that's a different class of printer. That actually replaced the 5000, which replaced the very, very bad 4900. That one had issues. And yeah, Epsons are not known for the whether you need it or not. I'm going to run a cleaning cycle before you start printing. Canon does that. Canon is known for that. The 1100 does that. I've been told by people, everybody has a slightly different story. So I cannot give you like an exact testimonial on that particular printer regarding pre-print cleaning cycles. Um, Daily printing, that is the only recommendation I can give you if you want to stick with the 1100. It's a great printer, what can I say? But, and it has internal densitometer. You can bring that printer to factory standards on your own so that any differences in the mass production process of that printer are taken care of. Other brands, they don't have that, so you have to rely on whether they are within that margin of error as far as output accuracy. So, the choice is you. Talk to people who may own an 1100. Ask them. Keep up with the firmware, um, releases. Make sure that you have the latest. I'm going to attempt. Last week I tried, but I did not. I forgot to do it. I'm going to print something with the Pro 1000 today. I ran a nozzle check last night, so I am within the 24-hour window. It ran a little bit of a cleaning cycle, but nothing extreme. Um, Again, I hadn't used it for, I think, since last Saturday when I did a nozzle check last Saturday. So, that's my bad. I need to print daily on that sucker. Um, so, again, I cannot promise you. Each seems to behave individually depending on the firmware that you have installed. I would just keep with the automatic updates. Even if you are refilling your original cartridges or disabling the chips, it doesn't really matter. The firmware will not affect that. Canon allows you to disable chips. Wait a minute. Performs deep cleaning at high frequencies like the 1100, but weighs more ink than the Canon. Who says that? I know that it is not a printer with thermal printed like the HP 1100. Well, Canon uses thermal printheads as well. In fact, every other brand except Epson uses thermal uh, printheads. And I heard that it gobbles up much more ink than the Canon on deep cleanings. Well, what can I say? Richard Bender, Hagerstown, Maryland. I've been working with Print Prism on some very weird papers, and it gives me great results every time. Well, let me just say, if Richard Bender said so, I will take that to the bank. Okay, I will take that to the bank. I have yet to do. I've only done 2 profiles, and I'm going to try one on this paper right here. Now, you guys tell me where the heck is this paper manufacturer? Riverstone Satin. It is super high quality Barita type paper, and it's sort of like a satin look. So I will have to examine the surface and then choose a proper matching surface for me to print the chart on my 8550, from which then I create the profile. And then we'll do some test printing. We'll do, of course, a standard image and a a very tough image to print because it has a lot of out of gamut regions. And we'll see how it does. And then we'll just use it for printing anything. I'll do a monochrome and see how it works with that as well. Even when it has 200 ml per cartridge, which also don't know a company that produces replacement inks for us. You're referring, what printer are you referring to? The HP still? HP does not do any kind of photo printers anymore. I would stay away from HP if I was you. Just consider Canon and Epson. They're the ones they have a history, an established history for photographic printing. Okay. which I also don't know of a company that produces replacement ink for it. Do you know of a cheap quality printing paper for printing rolls for A3? And uh, you're not in the U.S., right? So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know whether Red River sells overseas or not. With tariffs and all this garbage going on now, I don't know how much extra it would cost to ship to where you live. I forgot you told me a week or so ago. But yeah, you might have to check. But Red River, yeah, great papers. And sure, always expensive. This is not a cheap hobby. I recommend this um, again for people that can afford it. This is photo printing at home, or you're selling for money. And so, if that is the case, then you're able to maintain the costs, or put up with the cost of this hobby craft, whatever you want to call it. Paul Mashak, 5267 from Tempe, Arizona, 8550, another 8550 user, Pro 100 Precision Color Inks, Canon Pro 4600, and 44-inch wide. That is a big one. QMH 1 and also Ultimate, mostly Red River papers. Okay, so this guy has a 4600. That's just two sizes larger than the 1100. Um, can you tell us what happens when you attempt to print every time? Are you printing daily? Are you printing every other day? What is your rate of printing? And tell us what happens before you print. And are you wasting a lot of ink? In other words, you should be using more ink volume wise to produce however many prints you produce in a month than you use to keep your print head clean. So if you're using an 8 by 5, I mean 8.5 by 11 uses about 2 to 3 ml of total ink in most cases. This is very general. Um, so are you wasting, if you're printing only one of those a week, and every time you print you use 6 ml total ink to clear the print head, you're wasting ink. That you're not a good, you know, uh, economy representative for photo printing. You're wasting more ink than you are using to print. Okay, so your total ink use for that print is your waste ink you generate plus the ink you use to actually print it. So if you were printing, say, 10 of those a week, then you're using, say, 30 ml of ink, okay? And you're wasting 6, maybe less because you're printing more frequently. So the cleaning cycles, if any, will be shorter and less wasteful. You see what I mean? So now your ratio, you're using a lot more ink to print photos, and then you sell those, money. And then on the other side, it only takes a small percentage of that to make sure your print head is clear. You see what I mean? So yeah, it's a all about economics. So you have to understand that when you commit to a printer of that caliber, it's daily use, my friends. You have to. Okay, don't do like me. Once a week, I run a nozzle check because I'm not producing prints for sale. If I did, I would be going broke. I would be. Okay. Schools ever close here for weather? Yeah, of course not. My wife laughs at this place. She's a Wisconsinite. I can remember walking to school minus 40 C and a foot of snow. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. And back in the days, the years that my wife was in high school, girls wore skirts. There was a dress code, no pants. Okay. And hose, pantyhose. That's the only thing you can use to cover your legs with. Guys had an advantage; they could wear long pants, but yeah. And you walk to school, even if the buses could not, you know, pick you up. You walked. Emmanuel, he's from beautiful France. You are in black from rainy and windy Normandy. Yeah. EcoTank 8550, another user. Q1 Color Monkey Digital. Yeah. So let me tell you, you're gonna be interested in this software, Print Prism, since you have a Color Monkey. I am definitely interested in spectrophotometry software for the EcoTank 8550. I would love a comparison video of your current hardware. Um, that is usually, well, you could do comparisons, but that the way that professionals do it is using, and I forget, used to be able to be accessible to us peons, but now it's not. But to be able to actually look at the 3D bubble, if you want to call it that, of the profile itself. When you're using the X-Rite software and you're done with that profile, and you see it and you can rotate it, you can look at it. North is white, south pole is black, and then RGB MCY. And you look at it and you can then compare it to a previous similar paper for which you created another profile. You load that one, overlap it, and whatever is sticking outside, that means extra gamut. Whatever is not outside but inside, that means that that region has less gamut than the previous one. So yeah, you could do visual representations that way. Very difficult to do on video because these little cameras are very inaccurate. And so what I see here may not be represented there when you are looking at it at home. You'd have to be like here with me under proper lighting, and then we can do an examination of, say, a color monkey profile for a given paper compared to the Print Prism one. It's all about the results and what your eyes see. And Mike Cheney does emphasize that. Pete Grobel, Canon Pro 1100, OEM Inks, Canon Pro Luster. Pro Luster's a good paper. It didn't do very well as far as longevity compared to, say, like Palo Duro from Red River. Pro Luster is a resin coated paper with OBAs. And so Palo Duro is like a super high end Barita paper, no OBAs, acid free, everything. And so it did outperform on the Pro 1000 with OEM inks. It certainly did. So again, but it's still a wonderful paper. I just would not use it for anything you expect to last 50 years or so. It's not going to work for that. So, but it's still wonderful. I love it. I have a ton of it. Try finding the Pro 1000. Very hard to find. Only use. Better know to buy the Pro 1100 only. 1099. The printer is better. Yeah. All in all, if I was starting all over again, that's what I would buy. Absolutely. Unless I found another Pro 1000. I can use little for in ink. Yeah. Okay. I can say I print daily. I use for ink for printing than cleaning. Yeah, absolutely. It's just it drives me nuts. I like again, my printers are not for me to be producing prints to sell or to give away. It doesn't really matter. So I don't have a need. I have no need to print daily. I would have to just print just something silly every day, waste it, and throw it out just to keep the printer happy. But if I was producing something for monetary gain, then yeah, daily printing every single day. Mark Coffey is here from Louisville, Kentucky. All right, nice to have you, my friend. Canon 200 Pro, of course. QMH1. I find that I am printing weekly with nozzle test prints, verifying everything looks good. I'm still on Canon OEM. Yeah, even that nozzle check is fine. I would print in order to get better use of the like every single nozzle. Of course, the nozzle check uses every single nozzle, but It's not as much as actually printing a little print. So print a 4x6 maybe once a week. If you're not going to be using it that often for actual, prints that you're going to display or give away or sell, just do a 4x6, and that, something that has a lot of different colors, and that will really exercise it. Or in QImage Ultimate, you have that unclog tool. It creates a very scientifically designed set of lines using all the colors, and you print that. You can schedule it automatically to print it for you. You don't have to worry about it. Just leave the printer on, leave QImage open but minimize, and it will print that for you. And you don't have to worry about anything. Just keep some plain paper loaded in the printer and just schedule it for like every 2 days or so. It'll print, just do half a page. It'll print that when you're done. Say you're done print for a whole week, you'll have like 3 of those half page. Flip it over again and do the next. If you happen to print something that weekend, then print something, and then just minimize the printer. That stays active. That scheduling tool stays active until you decide to turn it off. We're going to show you that later on today. That's like one of my favorite QImage features. Lee says, does performing an also check on the Canon 1100 every 23 hours help me? Because you recommended doing so. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I don't know about the 1100. I have the Pro 1000. I hope that it behaves exactly the same as my Pro 1000 as far as its, how the firmware tells the printer, hey, I want you to do this more often or less often. I don't know. I don't know how it does the difference. People that own an 1100 can tell me, can, right here, if they own one, can tell me right now, what do they see different from the 1100 and the Pro 1000 if they own both of them at one time. If they still own them, then tell me what the differences are. You would have to have both of them, and I do not. Or does it reduce the waste on deep cleaning? So deep cleanings, let me just explain. A deep cleaning occurs only when needed because you didn't print for a month. Okay. And so it's going to do a clean. It's going to do an agitation cycle, first of all. That's what happened yesterday when I did the nozzle check. You hear this click, 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 click. It's a little piston on every one of those 12 compartments agitating the ink. And then it begins a cleaning cycle. You don't hear the cleaning cycle. The cleaning cycle is quiet. What you hear is the pad that contains all of the ink is sucked out of the printhead via vacuum, and it drains that into the MC20 waste ink cartridge. That is the pump you hear. That is the noise. That is not the cleaning cycle. It is just draining what it produced using vacuum. So, a deep cleaning cycle means that that pump is draining that pad, the parking station, for the next minute or so. Okay, that's what you hear. That is not the cleaning cycle. The cleaning cycle occurred quietly. You didn't even hear it. So it depends. If I don't print for a week, it's going to be, several minutes. If I don't print for a month, oh, I should shoot myself. I should never do that. I need to use that printer at least once a week. Once a week is still wasteful. It will still do cleaning cycles that may not be necessary had I been printing daily. You're going to use ink. This is what I tell people. They just don't get this. I know it's hard to grasp. You bought that printer, it's going to cost you money every single day. Okay, period. I know it's hard to accept. It's going to cost you money every single day. So whether you are printing, if you don't print today, is say Sunday, and you don't print until Wednesday, you're going to pay for Monday and Tuesday. It's going to run a cleaning cycle. How long, how much ink, whatever it decides. Ain't that something? But I know that after it's done and no errors popped up, I will have a perfect print. I am guaranteed that. Epson, yeah, Epson is known to do a pre-print cleaning cycle also. Once in a while, it does that. But it is not a guarantee that it performed that clean cycle and it assured itself, I am good to go. I am totally clear. If you run a nozzle check, I guarantee you it will be clear. No, 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 no. It is not the case. Epson doesn't have that capability to really examine each and sing every single nozzle in your printhead like Canon Pro 1000, 1100, and all of the other big boys have. As far as a feature, they can do that. They can actually determine that. And if they find one nozzle that's bad, they replace it with an unused nozzle. Yes, there are. Each color channel has a bunch of unused nozzles. It has to, because nozzles on thermal printheads do not last. They wear out. And if you ever get a clog and you don't take care of the clog by using a cleaning cycle, which uses no printing, it's just vacuuming ink out of it and possibly popping that little clog that you have in that one nozzle. Otherwise, if you continue printing, it's going to overheat. It's dead. Now it has to be replaced with a so-called redundant nozzle. That's how they work. And then when you run out of any channel, runs out of redundant nozzles, you need a new printhead. Yeah. And Canon printheads, well, think of it. Internal compartments, ink lines, internal dampers in the printhead, and then finally the channel where the nozzles live. That's a lot of ink that has to be replaced when you install a new printhead. The new printhead is empty, so it has to be filled with ink. So the initialization of a new printhead will cost you a lot of money and will also probably have you replace that waste ink cartridge as well. I hope this is not scaring anybody, but I'm just giving you the God honest truth when it comes to, these printers. This is what you have to deal with when you go, that level. Okay. I need to print daily with the 1100. Nozzle check's not enough. Yes. Is that something you know now for sure, or something you're repeating from what I'm saying? Please let me know. You're welcome, my friend. You're welcome. All right. So let's begin. The other day, I got an email from Mr. Matt McNamara, new owner of Precision Colors. And he said that he would like to he has some questions and he would like to hook up via video call. So we did it here on the StreamYard software. And it was a very good conversation. We stayed on for about an hour and a half. It was late at night, my time, like 9:30. And so he must be working really hard because he couldn't get off until like, an hour earlier there. So he was working until like 8:30. He was free then, and we hooked up. So he's working slowly on the new website. He asked me specific questions about whether he should get rid of something. And I'm going to show you what that is. Because when Mike Lee started with the website after he got off of eBay. He was an eBay seller. So he gets off of eBay under a very silly name. I don't even think he remembers that. That is the way that I discovered him when I was at that point experimenting with digital. So let me just open up, it doesn't really matter, one of these tabs, and we'll just do, say, a color. We'll do the, let's see, the P800. No, let's go a little bit further back. The 8880. Okay. So here's the 8880 ink set. It's called K3 Ultra Chrome. And let's go to custom profiles. So this tab here contains a ton of profiles. And it may be a little confusing because you look at this and you go like, wait a minute, which one do I download? Well, Mike decided way back then that he had to create, and this is easy to do on X-Ray software, that he, and also the open source software as well. Um, when you get a profile from a paper manufacturer and you go to, ICC profiles tab in their page, you will only see this, the standard D50 illumination profile. This is the standard by which every other profile provider out there produces their profiles. So this means that you're going to be illuminating about a Delta 5000 illumination. And this will be for a like daylight, more bluish type illumination. So there are differences. You can see fluorescent lighting, there's cool white, there's fluorescent daylight, and then there's tungsten illumination, which is very warm, very yellow, like 3300, that region there. So do we really need to keep all of these? I only use this, and everything that I produce, D50. Do we really need to keep these? Boom, all of that right there. If there was a way to record how many downloads have taken place for any of these others, I would venture to say, I cannot for sure say, but I would be very uh, well, I wouldn't have a problem saying maybe 0.1%. And 99.9 would be these right here, the D50 standard illumination. So, and you got to remember, when was this printer popular, and when did he develop the inks for it? This is Mike Lee, of course. So let's go back to home, and I'm going to then jump to a more modern printer. Again, the same category, but the P800 and ICC profiles. So this is for the PCK3 HD. Look, only the 50. Okay. So he knows, at that time he knew no one is using my profiles for other types of illumination. Meaning, that means that if I know where I'm going to be displaying my prints and I know what the illumination color temperature will be, then I could use a given, like in the 3880, as a custom made profile for that particular illumination. If I look at that print under my common D5000 illumination, it will look off. It will not look correct. But viewing it under the different illumination that this place where it's going to be displayed has, it will look correct, but only under that illumination. You see what I mean? So it's very, very customized profiles. No one does that. Every profile you download from any paper manufacturer will be D50. In fact, he didn't even put it here. It's just D50. Okay. So if you are at this point producing profiles with any kind of spectrophotometer you may own, just use D50. Don't go out of your way to try to customize the profile by using some other color temperature setting for your final. What am I going to illuminate this with? Okay, then I'm going to match that. No. Just make sure that the lighting that you're using to illuminate it is correct. 5,000. Okay, and so the D50 will work for that. Okay, D65 is for daylight, and who is going to display their prints on daylight? No, you're indoors on a wall, illuminated. And most people that do serious print displaying will have serious, color temperature lighting. Okay, the correct lighting conditions. So that was one of the subjects that we talked about, and I told him, yeah, when you start or you have someone maybe helping you along with creating the new site, which is going to take like half a year to do at this point. Um, just make sure that you just disregard the others. In fact, that site can be turned off. The one that we're using now can be turned off. Don't delete it. Just keep it in for reference about any possible other. The images that are there, you can still save them. You can download them, or you can shoot your own imagery for accessories and products that you're selling. If you don't like the way that the original old-fashioned website looks, redo everything. So yeah, and then we talked about the future of printing, of course. Um, we talked about what can be used with the chipless firmware as far as Epson printers. Um, it's actually not a very good looking future for Epson printers. I think eventually, pretty much, unless you're printing professionally and you use only OEM, and that's understandable if you're selling. Um, but yeah, EcoTank printers is going to be the thing. And so the fact that they can be loaded with sublimation inks from the very beginning, or pigment inks from the very beginning, put them at a different level than just plain, you know, for home use only. You've seen what I produce on it, and I can compare it with a Pro 1000. And unless I tell you which one is which, you may choose the one from the 8550. It may have a certain characteristic that you like. It's hard to tell. It's very difficult to tell. How long do they last? Well, quite a long time, apparently, from the testing that I have seen published. Assuming that your displays are favorable for long-lasting results. In other words, so prints do not fade. Um, Under the wrong, super wrong conditions, yeah, they will fade. Under excellent conditions, with proper management as far as lighting, and if you're worried, spray your prints, seal them, and they'll look the same, but they will be sealed, and so ozone will not harm them. You still have to protect them. Some of these sprays are actually UV also protectant, so they will last 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times longer. UV glass on your framing, forget it. You'll be long gone, and so will your half of your family will be long gone before that print even shows the slightest fading. This is Nathan when he was just a young boy. He's 13, almost 14 now. And this is perfect. This is not faded at all. This is good paper. Okay. This one here, I don't know if you can see that clearly. It's Great Falls, Potomac River. It is perfect. I shot that when Nathan was a baby. So that's about 14 years ago. Yeah, well, 13 years ago. He was only like 1 year old. Uh, so it all depends. I could make prints. I put them up on my refrigerator door. Refrigerators, at least my old one, produces ozone, and they fade. They will fade as long as they are unprotected. They will fade. If I put them someplace else in the house, they will not fade. I have some stuff on my. I have 3 rooms. So one is our bedroom. The other 2 are just simply like a guest room, and then a craft room. And I have a picture of a Civil War reenacting group that I shot. Oh my God, when did I shoot that? Maybe 25 years ago. Unprotected. It's just taped to the wall, to the closet door. And it's perfect because I used pigment ink. It was third-party pigment ink, but still pigment ink. So it's got to be 25 years old, and it'll be 50. I'll be long gone, and that print will still be fine. You see what I mean? So it's you know Epson, um, P800 pigment inks precision colors, the K3 HD, print with that, and you can be assured they're going to last pretty much forever. Okay. And forever, I mean, you'll be long gone and, pass it down to your relatives. And who knows after that? They could be damaged by other things and not necessarily ink fading. So keep that in mind. We talked about that. We talked about the future of inks for those particular printers from Epson. That was the subject. I think I'm ranting too much, but anyway, that was the subject of that little portion of our talk. That what are you going to offer for anything Epson puts out? They have blocked the market here, so no more chipless solution or inkchip.net for chipless firmwares. I don't know what they did, but they cannot create a chipless firmware for other than the P800. So go with EcoTanks. If they have already made an EcoTank type sublimation printer that uses 24-inch rolls. For me, what else? Why would I want to go bigger? So I really wouldn't be shocked if they offer a large format, say 6-color like this one, but 24-inch with roll capacity. They know they're reaching a certain point where people are not going to be buying professional level pigment large format printers from them unless they're in business. They want something for fun, and that is a lot of fun, that printer. And so they may, I'm just hoping and praying that they may come up with something, and say, for instance, start with a 17-inch wide printer, EcoTank. I buy one on the spot. I would do that. Yeah. But anyway, that's it. After that, we talked about Canon. We talked about these sensors. We talked about, and it's gonna find. Excuse me, I dropped something here. Where did it go? I need my flashlight. I dropped this. The boards. How could that disappear like that? Here it is. Because I'm about to ride on top of it with my chair. Okay, so there it is. This is the board, the original board, where all of the cabling was attached. So the original cabling were just basically available components that you can buy from electronic sites in China. And it was bulky. So Matt is streamlining everything. I'm going to be receiving version 3.0 from him, and I will go ahead and install it. And also flatter sensors. What does that mean? Flatter sensors with possibly thinner cables, less clutter. The dream would be for you to be able to close the ink lid on the front of your Pro 1000 or Pro 1100. I don't know how he would, locate and arrange the cabling. But another thing that is really not a very good idea is to have, but again, Mike was just relying on what was available at the time. See this connector right here? So this is just two little screws, and you just put the wire inside and then tighten the screws. No, that's not that good. That can come loose, and then you lose your connection. Everything turns black, and you don't know what's happening, and it's just that cable. So he's going to put a plug. He's going to connect it either with a plug or some other kind of connecting port. And so that's going to be a big improvement. It's going to have that available for the site, and that'll be perfect for 1100s users. He's looking at ink sets. A lot of the companies that are selling ink sets, they're really not selling like equivalents formulations that match the actual inks from Canon. Like I said last week, the ink base alone has a supposed anti-abrasion component, which is like a waxy substance that when it dries, it produces a very durable surface. So papers like Barita that have very flaky coatings, yeah, they made out of clay, barium sulfate. Um, so they tend to flake off. And if you print it on a loose flake and it falls off, you have a little spot. So that will be taken care of by adding this component. Well, Ink Owl has inks for the 1100, but do they have that component? I don't think they do. I think they just have a normal ink base. And so he's wondering whether if the suppliers that he deals with come up with a formulation for that. We're more concerned with color output. I'm not really concerned with anti-abrasion claims. I've never had an issue, okay, with the current ink. So if that was the biggest thing they did to the inks for the 1100, it's kind of embarrassing because really, was it needed? Are you going to manhandle your prints so much that they may become abraded, scratched? No, I treat my prints pretty nicely. The ones that I really like. Okay, I'm not going to abuse them. And what you did with the so-called color output, stronger blacks, better this, better that, is that something the print engine was programmed for, or is it a different blending of yellow, magenta, cyan, red, and blue? I don't know. I've been able to almost duplicate what people are claiming to see simply by using 1100 ICC profiles on my current Pro 1000. If that is all you need, then it's something that the firmware contains, or the print engine, or it's just simply the profiles. I'll have to do some more experimentation between the two, using, say, ProLuster with the 1100 profile for ProLuster and the Pro 1000 profile for ProLuster. I'll have to check the two and see how they differ in output. And I'll have to do different kinds of images that will force the differences to show off. If the image is very mild as far as demanding colors, then they'll both look the same. They're both going to look the same. And this is the same thing with the 1100 versus the Pro 1000. Some images fall short when printed on the Pro 1000, and they will then print and look better on the 1100 because that image happens to have a requirement that the ink set or the profiles or the firmware or the print engine can handle better than the Pro 1000 equivalent. You see what I mean? So at this point, I'm not really sold on whether there's a huge difference formulation wise on the actual inks themselves, other than what they publicly claim as far as the anti-abrasion component. Yeah. And then after that, we just continued talking and chatting about stuff. And I told him about my trip, uh, Mike's trip to see me down here and to see his nephew and wife. And we took a tour through DC. And so, yeah. So that is it as far as that. So we had a good one. It was productive. I see, hopefully, see a lot of future. He's going to be sending me some stuff. He's sending me some chips for my Pro One, which apparently is working. I hope that when I get the chips, it doesn't stop working all of a sudden. He offered me inks, so I think we're going to start off with on the right foot here. He'll be able to provide me with whatever I need to continue promoting the products that I literally grew up with, if you want to call it that, since the days that I started printing with digital. So that is it on that subject. Let me see. Mike said yes to what I asked him earlier. Pete says, you have to print daily. I have owned since March, I think he said. Kid Cooper, I scored the 1100, the 8550 is great for beginners who wants to experiment. The 8550 is a toy compared to the Pro 1000. Of course. But you know what? Like I said, and I will make this claim. I will print both images, both printers, same paper. Okay. If it's a Canon paper, I would make a Canon profile for my 8550 and I'll put them side by side and then you tell me which is which. It'll be easy because you'll see the chroma optimizer applied to it. But color output wise, it's very close. When you're talking about a professional level printer and one that was considered not even considered to be a photo printer, and now they sort of started doing that. They started calling it a photo printer in some ads. I saw that and it was, whoa, oh, excuse me. Now you're a photo printer? Okay. Yeah, it's, and again, if that is all you have and you want a scanner and now you can create ICC profiles with it, well, why not, right? And Epson refuses to allow us to refill the P900 or reset the chips. So what other choice do you have? You see what I mean? Really, there isn't much choice. Okay. So people who are still refilling, let's talk about categories here. So we have a common sponge card here, a refillable Epson type cartridge here, and the other type, which is this one here, you fill it from the bottom directly. No modification required. This is for Pro 10, Pro 300, Pro 300, and 10, 310S, all of those. Here is a common 3880, 3800 era refillable cartridge. I have similar ones for the P800 right now. So this is it. This is basically the category of refillable cartridges that's still at this point available in some places like eBay, and whoever sells refillable cartridges. Precision Colors does as well. So this one has to be modified unless you're using um, my friend's vacuum filling attachment that he created and designed and created and prints on a 3D printer. That allows you to do a vacuum fill. And that basically fills it like the factory did initially. So it's probably, although more difficult to perform, it's probably the one that maintains the characteristics of the printer. Whether you let it go empty or not, it doesn't really matter. It will fill that sucker where there's no air in the sponge. Okay, the upper portion will more than likely stay like that, which is not supposed to be full of ink because then you don't want to flood that serpentine vent. The vent is what gives the printer a way to vent itself internally. Remember, you took that little tape tab off of the side of the printer, you opened up the vent. So if you have ink all the way up to the top, it's going to possibly clog it if you overfill or something like that. So that would happen. For example, here's another OEM. You see the top is white, okay? And here, this is one that I filled and I let go empty. In other words, it's empty here. And you see there's ink all the way to the top, okay? Let me turn this on here. You see there's ink all the way to the top. Well, if I had overfilled this, I could have possibly allowed ink to enter that air chamber, that serpentine vent, and ink would stop flowing. And the only way to really clear it, I mean, you could suck from the bottom, but you need some kind of device to do that. Most people do this and blow into that little set of vent holes right there, and you get ink on your lips. Yeah, that's not good, right? And then refillables for Epson printers, which there aren't any available at this point. So, I mean, what's the point of me talking about it? Well, some people may still have some of those printers that allow you to do that. Like my friend here from Silver Spring, he has, or Rockville, he has an R2000 that I sold him, and you can refill those, and you just add ink into the fill plug, the fill hole. It automatically primes itself. Put a plug on the vent while you're doing that, and when you're getting ready to use it, you plug the fill and remove the vent plug. The vent plug allows air to replace the space created after you draining ink out. So again, pretty idiot proof in a way. You just add ink, it self primes itself. These are really good. Pro 10 is the easiest one ever. And again, the Pro 300 and the models that came after that. You just basically take this off, reset the chip, and dribble ink on top. That's it. And if you have Rudy Hellman's refilling system for it, it looks like this. And you take, well, I cannot use this syringe because it has a lure tip. You got to use one of these. Attach it, you suck back and collapse the bag. Immediately have another syringe loaded with ink, put it in, push the ink in. And this takes about 13 ml, so you can do like 10 and then another 3 and then weigh it. Make sure it's like around 32 grams. And then you remove this and make sure that the port is wet, or dribble a couple drops of ink until it begins to flood. Squeeze it and then just blot off the excess ink. And that way you have a maximum amount of ink with no air in that bag. Whoop. But yeah, and all of these items are available. Remember, I showed you guys a special link now on my video descriptions. Go there. It'll open up like a website looking place, and just go to Rudy Hellman's, and you can order all his items from there, or you can get refillable, well, made to be refillable cartridges for the Pro 100, 200 as well from my other friend. I keep forgetting names. I'm getting too old. Rick Johnson. So he has a eBay store. So go to his store and order from them. That way you can always have a set ready to go. And refilling is all about being ready to go when it comes time to exchange cartridges. Now, this bad boy right here, this is for the Pro 1000 and the 1100. The only difference between this Chrome Optimizer cartridge for the Pro 1000 and the one for the 1100 is, of course, the chip and this keyway. You see that this on the side, it has little grooves. They're different. So this Pro 1100, Pro 1000 cartridge will not fit the Pro 1100 Chrome Optimizer slot because this cap is different. Okay. So that's the only difference between the two printers. You simply drill a hole. I do it on the upper left all the time. Don't ask me why. It's just the way I've always done it. And then you just take, when it is empty, say you got real chips in them, you let it go empty and just fill it up with 82 grams of ink. When you buy from Precision Colors, you will get a bottle of 82. And that is, of course, if you're buying the chips, which he's going to be selling as well. He's going to be receiving chips sometime very soon. And so, yeah, you replace the chip, refill it with a full load of 82, pop it back in the printer. Now, when it comes to the 1100, once he decides what ink formulation to get, you'll have to disable the chips themselves. And that is a process you have to go through to achieve that. And then sensors, and if you can get the flatter sensor, oh, that'll be wonderful. You can probably close the lid a little bit and get it out of the way, which is right now it's kind of a pain. I have mine open, and I banged it the other day and almost broke it. So not a good thing to have hanging out in the front, So uh, that was basically it. He's going to be sending me the chips. He's going to be sending me a couple of other items that he wants to add to the inventory. I asked him about his help, and he's actually renting a place, a location. So that's where he's working from. His wife still has a custom socks company, so she's doing well with that, and they have a daughter. And I asked her, "Is she on the payroll?" And he sort of chuckled and says, "Sort of, kind of, So anyway, so that was it. We said goodbye, and hopefully in the next few days I'll be getting a package from him, and we'll set up the Pro One fully. At this point, I wanted to do an also check. I did a clean cycle and said my matte black was going to run out. No, it's not. It's just the chip that is going to go empty pretty soon. So I decided to stop at that point, and I'll just wait until the new chips get here. And apparently, he's willing to send me whatever I need, so that'll be good. That'll be good. I was a little bit worried about asking about that, but he brought it up himself, and he offered whatever I need. Okay, I did lots of research on the Pro 100. Sure, the matte black for the Pro 1100 is a different. I think you meant the Pro 1000. Different, a different formula. The matte black almost looks glossy. It's definitely the ink. The yellow lasts longer. Why would you want matte black ink to look glossy? Um, I wouldn't want that. Um, yeah. For more info, search Nick Carver's professional photographer. He tested matte black for the Pro 1100. So, are you saying that if you print on a matte paper something very deep, like a 000 value, like you find on the standard image, that's going to look slightly glossy? I don't see how that is any kind of an advantage. I went blank. Is everybody there? Why does this happen? I don't know. Anyway, we got 37 people on board right now. Let me go ahead and we're going to go to QMH Ultimate. I'm going to show you a couple of things that I absolutely love. And I find it very helpful for an old fart like me who forgets what he did a minute ago. And I need help. I need help when it comes to printing. Basically, all the papers that I use, all the printers that I have on hand, I want to be able to repeat what I did. So I'll give you an example. So let's just go to File and open my automation, my basically my what is that called? Automated job log. So it takes a couple of seconds, well, a little longer than that to open, and it gives me everything that has been logged on, um, no matter how long ago. So it's going to take a little bit to load because it's huge. Let that log on. So, like I said, when I creating the last, here we go, creating the last couple of profiles that I made, I wanted to load the same set of images in the same orientation, 5x7, two 5x7s on an 8.5 by 11 letter size piece of paper. So look at that. That is, you see that? That is this. That's this job that I did. Okay. And if I want to repeat that, all I got to do is choose it, open, and then choose job. But what I want to find is the one with the two images. There's another one. I printed it on both glossy and matte. That one. That's the one with two images. So I'm going to open that. Job. Boom. It's done. All I got to do now is say I used a semi-gloss paper, which is what I'm going to use for this new profile that we're going to be making today. I would use semi-gloss. So I would go here and see if I got a semi-gloss. Semi-gloss right there. And of course, then here I would use the correct profile, the one I just created. I would look for it and I would print that. You see, immediately I find the job that I need to repeat. Different settings, and I can just save that also as a job. It will actually it will actually automatically do that for me. And I just go to the automated job log and find it, and I can repeat that job again. So it's just awesome. So again, once I create a profile, I'm going to save it, of course, through the software, and then I'll be able to access it here. Now, let me just remove this. So talk about people who don't use their printers often, okay? Because they don't have anything to print. And before I even start that, don't get into the habit of saying, I'm not printing often because I cannot afford the ink. You should not have bought that Maserati Italian car that uses premium gas and is expensive. Yeah, you don't need that car. It costs too much to operate. Don't buy it. Um, so what do you do with a printer? You buy that printer and now you realize it's too expensive to operate. Ooh, well, here's what you do. You're going to print something that's going to use very little ink, okay? And hopefully you shouldn't have to ignore it to the point where it clogs up. So let's go ahead and go to File and the Print Schedule Unclog Tool Purge Images. Okay, so here we go. So let's just say we're doing the 8550. Let me see what I have here. I got the 8550 for matte, and I got the 8550, which I assume is for glossy. So if I choose matte or this one, it shows me I have cyan, I have magenta, I have yellow, and I have black and grays. Now, if I'm printing on a printer with orange ink, I would add that to it, or red ink or blue ink, like the Canon printers. You see what I mean? So now I can just go ahead and hit schedule. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back. Let me cancel that. Right here, I can choose half page or full page. Let's do half page. And I'm going to go to schedule. Here, I can pick my schedule starting today at 5 p.m. every 2 days and do it for 10 days. I'm going to be back from my trip in 10 days. Okay, that's it. I hit OK and it will be set. I leave. I then just close this and I do not close QImage. I just minimize it, leave my computer on. You have to do that. Sorry. And you go away on your trip. Hopefully, you will not have any kind of outages. And that's it. Now, if I would just want to quickie print one, I just go here to Q and it's going to load it half a page and I print it. That's it. And that it has enough information to match what a full blown print would have been, except it's more effective. It's more effective. So, and this is a lot more effective than just the plain nozzle check. Compared to the nozzle check, this is like 20 times more. Okay, maybe more. And so you just print this. So this is, again, one of those features that just makes it incredible. Now, if you have a multi-image job, let me go here to this little folder right here. Or better yet, I'm going to let it load and then I'm going to close it because I want to show you something else. Let's remove that. So let me go. Let's say this is an 8.5 by 11, but I just want to print wallet size 2 by 3, like that. So I'm going to print this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, that one, that one. Notice how it's loading them and arranging them for you. It's taking into account how much space do I need to fill here. Let's do this one here. And let me see if can I squeeze another one. Oh, heck yeah. And this one. I just created a big old contact sheet. And I'm going to print it. I'm going to look at the small versions and how they appear on that particular paper. Because I don't know what to print yet. I got to choose one. That's what you did with film. You did a contact sheet. The strips of film, you did not enlarge them. You contact printed them. And you have a sheet with 36 little tiny prints on it. And you just use a loupe, a magnifying glass, and choose the ones that actually deserve to be printed. And in this case, you have paper that has multiple different surfaces, and you're testing them, and you want to see if this image will look good in this particular paper. Create this. Now, let's say I want to do the same test on other papers, but I don't have the papers yet. Just save it. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the save button, and we'll just call this multi-image contact sheet. Multi-image contact sheet. That's it. And it'll be on the 8550, I believe, is what I have loaded. Now, whatever printer I happen to have loaded when I set this up is the printer is going to be used for to save that job. So I'm going to go ahead and save job. It's saving it. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and change to another printer. See, 8550. I'm gonna change to the 80. Let me see, not the 8550. I'm gonna remove all of this first of all. Sorry. Let me remove all of this. Remove all, and then I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to, I don't know. Let's see. My 15,000 upstairs. Notice it's got a different layout. That's the layout I last used. So now I'm gonna go back. I'm working on stuff and I say, oh, let me test. My paper arrived. Let me test it with those images again. But what did I use? What images did I use? Let me go to another folder. I'm on a different folder here and totally different images. And I forgot what I used because I didn't really use them all. I just used some of them. Well, go to the folder here. Go to the date and it'll be right on top. It says right there, multi-image contact sheet job. And job. Boom. In the exact order, the exact orientation, the exact layout. Why would you not want that? Okay. Why? All you got to do now is just change the paper to a different paper and print it. And you can save that again. You can add the paper type to that description, of course. You see what I mean? So another thing that I can do is I can click on any one of these images and this will open up. Let me move it over there. This is what will open up. And I can adjust my exposure, which means I will add nothing lower than 0.5 in the blacks, nothing higher than 0.5 in the highlights. Click on that. It does an automatically adjustment for you. You may not have seen it because maybe this image require very little adjustment. I can add some sharpening. I can crop it. I can do all sorts of things to it. And when I am done, okay, and it will reload those images and actually add that correction to that particular image here. And you can do that with every other image. Say this one here, very low contrast. You see that? I can increase the contrast. Maybe do the exposure thing. And add sharpening. And when I am done, it will apply that. And then done. Okay. It will reload and it will apply that correction to just that image there. If the other ones do not require anything, I don't have to do anything to them. I can go back here and I'm going to hit the date and I'm going to click that one, save it. Want to overwrite it? Yes, I want to overwrite it. And now it's going to resave it with the same two corrections I just applied to those two images. Why would you not want that? And then I can come back 6 months later and recall that same set of images. I mean, come on. Let's get rid of everything. Remove all. Whoa, wait a second here. I didn't. There we go. Remove all. Okay. So let's do this one. This one here, it's a weird one. This is, it has darks, but they're sort of like gray, and I want them to be a little deeper. So let's see what this auto correction does here. Let's see if it helps that at all. If there's a darker tone, it's not going to help these here. So yeah, it didn't do much because apparently there exists somewhere there a darker tone. So that really, as Mike told me, is for correcting an image that just simply does not have a good tonal range, like it's lacking. Like the deepest black is like a gray, and it will help that. Now, let's just say I want to fill the page. So I go fit to page, and now it filled it. You see that? But it may have cropped it. This is 8.5 by 11. This is not a 2:3 ratio. So I'm going to click on the image right there. I click on it and then remove the cropping. Boom. You see that? Now I can grab this and I can move it over. Whatever position I want it in, but normally it will just reset to 0. And if I want to crop it again, fit to paper. So the margins that you see are what they call non-printable margins. And these always exist unless you go borderless. So let's just say we want to go borderless. And I know there's a button somewhere that you can actually access it through QImage, but borderless. It's going to give me a warning that says, hey, you may have some streaks and whatever on your print, because now it's printing beyond the edges. You see the margins are gone. And I can save this. I can save whatever the heck I do. I can save it. Always save it. Okay. So yeah, that's just a handful of little things that I love about QImage. There's so many little ones that he just keeps adding them to it. And this has been going on for a couple of decades at least. He hasn't really gotten rid of any of the previous features that he added to it as QImage was evolving. Julian, hello. How are you, my friend? We'll catch the first 1.5 hours this evening. Okay. You're just in time. We're going to start doing some work. Let me see if I want to discuss this first. Yeah, do not ever let your printer sit for over a year without using. Why are you doing this? If you must, at least do these things before you do. And simply put, again, like we just discussed, people, for whatever the reason, sometimes it's due to illness, sometimes it's due to travel, and so on. But a year is way too much. A couple of months, yeah, you can get rid of the issues you may develop through cleaning cycles, no problem. Depending on the printer, Some printers will be fine. My environment right now is dry. Furnace is going on 2, 3 times a day during the day. So the air content of moisture is low. Things will dry up faster. I just checked some of my aluminum prints. They're curled a little bit because the MDF backing I put on it dried up, and it's causing the surface in the rear to contract and making the front of the very thin piece of aluminum to curve. In the next few months, when it gets warmer and humidity comes back, they may flatten out. Um, I'm buying 1/4 inch material, which should be a little bit better. And I was thinking about spraying it before I mount it on the back of prints, spraying them to give it a nice seal before I mount them. Again, that would add more cost if I was actually selling these. But anyway, so things that you can do on an EcoTank printer, not really much you can do. Okay, you can just, I would say, if it's going to be a few months, open the lid. You got a scanner, but open the lid that allows you to get internally, and put a wet sponge in there. And during the month, that sponge will release moisture and keep a certain level of moisture. Put the wet sponge on top of a piece of plastic. Of course, don't want to leaking water everywhere, but that will create an environmental condition internally that's very damp, and that will keep your print head from drying out, which is sitting on that perch unit. And longer than that, it depends on your printer. You're gonna not print for a whole year, and you have, say, a 1400. You get a set of refillable cartridges. Go to Inkjet Mall. They have a compound called Piezo Flush, Piezo Flush, one word. It's like $27-30 a bottle. Fill those cartridges with that, and then cleaning cycles until you get nothing but pink on your nozzle check. That means all 6 cartridges, or say the 1400, or whatever printer allows you to use third-party cartridges on. You flushed out all the ink, and now the whole system is filled with piezo flush. Piezo flush does not evaporate, so your printhead will not dry out. When you return from your time off, replace those cartridges with the same, but filled with third-party ink or OEM if you want to go that route. Cleaning cycles, nozzle checks until now you're printing with all your colors again. And you'll be printing, there will be no clogs, okay? If it's a printer like a P800, well, that requires a complete flush. Fill those cartridges with PSO flush. You're using inkchip.net, the no chipless firmware. Refill those refillable sets with the PSO flush, flush until your nozzle check is only pink. And then when you return, you got to replace it with a second set of cartridges with ink, flush, you know, clean cycle until you get a full uh, color palette again on your nozzle check. Yeah, it takes a lot of work, but it is possible. You can do that. Now, if it's something you're sick and you can no longer, have a friend come over, good Lord, once a week and print something on it, or set up QImage with the automatic scheduling system and print something on it. And that will keep it happy. The printer will say, oh, he or she has not forgotten me. I'm still working. So therefore, I will still be clear when it begins to print seriously again. So again, you just either need to print, or you either need to flush your system, or if it's something that is not possible to do, then keep that printer in a bag. Yeah, a sealed trash bag. Have a couple of friends lift it up, and you put a bag on it. You put that a wet sponge over plastic. Just keep that moisture level high, and it will not dry up. Okay. All right. That is what you do, and good luck. Again, I would give it away to someone for a year if I'm going to be not being able to print for that long, and hope that they can give it back to me when I'm done and I'm ready to come back. Okay, let's try this. So this is the paper that I was going to use, and I'll just give you a quick glance at what we've been able to do. So that type of paper was from Staples, the office supply store, and I have both Photo Supreme glossy and matte right here. Let me show you the initial scans that we made. The first one that I did was for glossy, but it was basically the same Staples Supreme Photo Supreme glossy. Is that what it's called? I love the fancy name, Photo Supreme. This is what you will print. Okay. He told me, and I didn't count them, but he says 16,000 patches. Most of the time, 3,600 patches is pretty much the max that you produce when you're doing a X-Rite i1 Pro. This is a lot more. Normally, I do either 400 patches or 400 times 3. So it does like 1,200 patches, 3 sheets of paper. So here you're just using one sheet of paper to create 16,000 patches. So if this paper is $3 a sheet, instead of using $9 worth of paper, I'm using only $3 worth of paper. So that is created. You then use the software, creates the profile, and you print the standard image along with that really tough one. This had a lot of autogamma colors. And this is the result you get. Okay. And I made one for the map. And the reason you don't see a white border here is because you trim it. You trim it to the existing black border the image contains. So this image is installed when you install the profile. I mean, when you install the program, you will have this image. And then you process it, you scan it, and then you read it with your software, and you create this. Okay. So then I decided to test it with some of my images. And this is where I did this one. And it is nearly a match of what my monitor displayed. Then I thought, oh yeah, well, big deal. How does it do with monochrome? And glossy papers are a pain in the neck sometimes. And this looks a little greenish, but in reality, when I look at it, this is just my camera and my light. When I look at this, let me go over to this light here. Yeah, perfectly neutral. I don't see any tint whatsoever. So that's amazing that I was able to create something neutral. I thought, let's print it using black and white mode. Black and white mode allows me to print using an adjustment, a global adjustment. So I created a slightly toned version or sepia version. This is my daughter. We're in Paris and we're just having a Coke. Okay. And again, here next to me, it looks perfectly even. Nice sepia tone to it. I would make it a little bit more yellow because that's what I remember when I used to actually manually sepia tone images. See the difference? So, yeah. not bad. I did this one. This is from, by the way, those are from film scans, 35 millimeter. So here's another one. I think we went inside Notre Dame or Notre Dame Cathedral, and they were lighting candles at that point. So I took a picture of that. This boy, altar boy, lighting up the candles. Then this is a park we used to go to. We took um, Janine's mom and dad, not mom and dad. Mom had passed away. We took Janine's dad there. He came to visit us in Belgium. And that's a big old fat dove. And the way that this scan was beautiful. I mean, it looks sharp. It must have been possibly plus X film because I really don't see a lot of film grain. I scan at a very high resolution so I can capture the film grain when I'm scanning film, and I want to be able to duplicate that film grain. And here is the other two images that I made again with that profile. So let's go ahead and try this. And then I'm going to show you something I found the other day when I was cleaning up upstairs. And I was so happy to see that. Let me take about 3 sheets of this paper out. Okay, here's the catch with this paper. It's coated on both sides. So I got to find the side that does not have, sometimes it gets roller marks. This side has the roller marks. There's 2 little marks right there. This paper never really made it, okay? Because they wanted it initially to be a double-sided paper for like fancy albums. And what happened was when they coated one side and then they recoated the opposite side, the rollers left little marks. And I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can. And when you print on it, it depends what kind of image you print. There's a little horizontal mark right here. It looks like a roller mark. So this is really thick paper. I may have to help it. So the first thing you do is you're going to print that standard image that Mike provided. In other words, the patches. So let me remove this. I don't need this anymore. I'm going to turn off. I always think I'm going to be sublimating, but it ends up that I am not going to be. So it is 1:41 right now. I think we're going to have enough time here. So I'm going to go ahead and open Q image. And I have to find, like I did earlier, I'm going to do this off camera. I'm going to go ahead and hit file and automate it job. And I'm going to find the job with the standard, the color patches, that is, that I created, that Mike created, not me. Here we go. So here it is. There it is right there. So I'm going to open job. So as you can see, it incorporates a black border on it. So I'm going to trim the white portions of it. And this is at maximum fill to page. So I am going to use the 8550. I'm going to choose a semi-gloss paper, as close as I can get. This is more like a fine art, but velvet fine art is matte. So that's the only matte paper that I have. And there's no other luster. It's too shiny. So I think the closest I can get to this surface is semi-gloss. And here's the very key point you need to uh, be aware of. You have to choose off. So off means that the application QImage Ultimate is not going to try to alter the color values of this patch containing 16,000 patches. So they're going to remain the way that they were originally in the file. Okay. And it says right here, turning the print ICC off will disable printer color management and will result in raw data being sent to the printer. This option is normally only used when printing color test targets, such as the ones used to create custom paper printer profiles. If you want your printer driver to manage color using its own built-in profiles, select Let the printer driver manage color. Are you sure you want to turn printer color management off? Yes. And now we need to, I don't need to, but I would like to show you guys that the driver is also turned off. Go to more options, advanced, and you see no color adjustment. So both entities, QImage and the driver, have turned off color management. There is no manipulation of any of these values here. They will print as they are with no help from either QImage or the driver. So let's go ahead and print this baby up. It's going to load. Now, once I am done printing this, I can turn off QImage. I don't need it any longer, and we'll use Print Prism. The only thing I got to watch and make sure that it grabs the paper. $65, $75, $81. This is a TIFF file, and it comes with the downloadable software, and it will be installed in your picture folder. I moved it to a different folder. Okay, here we go. Okay, no problems. It grabbed it and it's beginning to print. Now that's going to take a while because that is a color image, and it's going to be printed at the highest possible quality. Now, Mike Cheney recommends you turn off the customary or basically default sharpening amount, which I did, 5%, something like that. So, or 5 points, whatever. I turned that to 0. We just want the patches. I don't want any sharpening or anything. I want the patches to be printed as smoothly as possible. So then we're going to open up the software. Actually, I gotta let that dry a little bit. So we're going to probably do something else while that is drying, then come back and create the profile. Then we'll finish off by just simply printing something. Again, what should we print? Well, the standard image and containing that other tough image with the outer gamut colors. No, it does not really matter. I mean, the bigger the image, the more ink you'll use. And unless it's something that you want to keep, no. 4x6 is fine. Or with QImage, just print that half a sheet on plain paper. Don't use expensive paper. You choose glossy, but you print on cheap paper. Okay, glossy causes you to print at a more higher dot per inch or deep, DPI quality mode, and it will exercise those nozzles more. But yeah, just use cheap paper. Just print that every day or schedule it every other day. Okay, I'm going to have to go to the back here behind the table and trim it, and then we'll come back, let it dry, and come back. Yes, indeed it is. And ink is right there. Right over there. Okay. So I'm good. I'm still good. Okay, that seems to be printing perfectly fine. So, you guys got any questions? Pop them to me right now, because I'm going to wait about 10 minutes after this comes out, and then we'll proceed with the rest of the job, and we'll see what kind of results we get. I'll compare it to the glossy that I previously did for the Staples paper. I just want to see the color balance remains the same. Okay, this is done. I can see some areas that received a lot of ink are a little shinier. So definitely right there, right here. Check out this area right here. You can see the reflection. You see that? So definitely got to let this dry. Then we'll go ahead and print to trim it. I'm going to trim it. There's some dotted lines right here, and I'm going to trim to that edge, and we'll just have a black border. Any white border has to be from the, oh, what happened here? Oh, you know what? It shifted. Uh-oh. No, this is no good. I cannot use this. It shifted. Oh, the paper slipped. Darn. That's a no good. No good. I got to print it again. Yeah, that is a tough paper. I was wondering why that paper really didn't go into much of a production when it first came out. Darn it. Yeah, you cannot have any of that stuff double printing. The little squares were like two squares overlapping each other. No, 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 no. That cannot happen. You cannot have that. Let me go ahead and load again the job. Automated log. I'm not going to make you watch that. I'm just going to go ahead and load it. There it is. Job. Yeah, I think it's the fact that the back is also coated. It makes it kind of slippery, unfortunately. Okay, so all the settings are the same. Print and okay. We'll move it over there. We'll wait for it to yep. I I was wondering what was going on there. I have some black ink here, but I think I used up my others already. So anyway, I will load some gray ink probably tomorrow. Too bad. That would not have worked. I have an idea. Let me see. Nah, I'll leave it alone. I'll just leave it as is. It seemed to happen at the very end, the trailing edge. Hope and pray. Yeah, it's not the printer, it's the paper. The paper is very slippery. Because that doesn't happen with other papers. I have a whole box full of it, so I would love to get a good profile for it and begin to use it. But and imagine if you were printing borderless, that would be tragic because the whole image would have shifted. If the paper shifted a little bit, that's it. In other words, I could probably pull the normally as prints are being created, if you look at the leading edges and you pick up those two corners, you can't really, shift them laterally or at an angle. It's pretty tight, the way the travel is. But if you have the back of it also coated with, and it's just as slippery, it could manually shift. I just have to check that edge. If that also is, double printed, I'm sorry. I'll have to choose some other paper to do this. I want to give you guys a complete show of how to do this. If I do this off camera, then I can edit all the flubs and you know what I mean. So, but right now I just want to do it live so you see how it's actually done. See that this is perfect. And now the whole sheet should be inside. It should be flat. There should be no issues with curliness or anything like that. I want to keep an eye on the edge of this corner here as it passes through. Make sure it's not shifting laterally. You hear that click? That was the edge, the trailing edge. Otherwise, I'll have to look for another paper that I can, demonstrate on. Double-sided again. I don't want to do that. Okay. Cross fingers. Okay, perfect. No shift. Great. You see that? See that edge right here? See all the little squares? There is no double printing or anything like that all the way down here. So this one should work. And what I need to do now is let this dry and then proceed to scan it. To scan it, you have to trim it. You have to trim off all of the white edges, especially since stupid me, I forgot to undo putting a stroke around it. I don't want to touch the surface yet. I want to wait for it to dry. And then I'll proceed with printing. I'm going to have to get another sheet because I want to do two prints. I want to do the standard image, and then I want to do maybe a black and white. Let's do two more after that. Might as well use this paper up. It's a beautiful paper. I think there's only like 25 sheets in here. Yeah, 25 sheets. Riverstone satin rag. So it is a rag-based paper, which makes it, okay, here's the roller marks. So this is the clean side, okay? It's so sad that that happened. While we're waiting for that, I'm going to show you what I found. So the other day when Mike Lee came down, I took him to DC. I'll leave that on. And on the way back, after our 3 hour tour, we went up 16th Street. It's basically like the midpoint, not where the Capitol is, but where the White House begins. So if you were to go southbound on 16th Street, you would dead end Constitution Avenue and the White House, the rear of the White House. So we went around all over the place and then came back and went up 16th Street. Well, 16th Street happens to be the street where my main gate for Walter Reed Army Medical Hospital was. And so I said, "Oh my God, I'm here. Look, Mike, this is where I used to work." And I then noticed, "Oh my God, where's the gate?" So the gates are gone. It's now open. So I went in and I noticed that we had a historic stone chapel from like 1890 something, and it's still there. Of course, they couldn't remove that. That was a historic building. Everything else is gone, and apartment buildings and that sort of thing. Um, I think they're doing like low income um, apartments, and which I wonder what they're actually renting for. Yeah, the Army Institute of Research, Walter Reed Army Institute of Research, or RARE, was still there. It's an old brick building. That's historic also. It used to be the old hospital. They turned it into a research facility when I was there. Um, and that's still there, thank God. And then my building was still there because I don't think you can take it down. It's indestructible. So, and they had a wing on the south side, which is the only part of the building that had windows. So I worked in a bunker, basically a story bunker, 3 stories underground with underground tunnel systems and that sort of thing. So later on, as a civilian, I moved over to the wing with windows, and I'll show you what that looks like. So here it is right here. So I found this awesome postcard printed. It was give you the history. So this is my building right here. This is where I used to work in the fifth floor. This is the south wing. This is where it was added later, and then there was a medical museum down here, right here, very famous medical museum of medicine. Um, there's our parking area here, and so on. I would enter through that door right there. Well, that whole building was still there, which made my heart feel so much better when I saw that. So Armed Forces Institute of Pathology, 14th Street, Alaska Avenue, Washington, D.C. Founded in 1862 as the Army Medical Museum. The institute is the world's foremost institute of pathology and is a joint agency of the Army, Navy, and Air Force. The building was dedicated in 1955 by President Dwight D. Eisenhower. The portion at the right with windows is the new wing opened in 1971, which houses research facilities and the medical museum of the Institute. So there it is. And I was so glad to see that. Now, how did this come about? So the first thing that happened was they established a medical museum, but it wasn't here. It was located closer to the Capitol, actually very close to what they call the mall, where the Smithsonian museums are located. So General Sickles, Union General, Civil War, Gettysburg, lost his leg. They packed, he said, pack my amputated leg on this suitcase. I'm going to take it to Washington, D.C. He gets on a train, goes to Congress, and says, "We need to establish a museum, and I want this leg of mine to be part of the specimen collection." And sure enough, we still have it there. And the medical museum has closed down. Now it transferred over to closer to me, actually, in Forest Glen, Maryland, and they have his leg still there, preserved, the bones, that is, the femur and the tibia and all of that. So There it is. So I was so happy to see that everything else is gone. The hospital is gone. Many of the old buildings that were not considered historic are gone. Very sad for me to see that, but anyway, saw that and I was happy to be able to catch it. Now I found. Let me check this. It's drying up nicely. After I came back from Korea, I went to Fort Devens, joined the Special Forces, the 10th Special Forces Group. Part of it was in Bad Holz, Germany, and then the rest of the unit in Fort Devens. And then after that, I went to the Inter-American Defense College in Washington, D.C., Fort McNair, which is on the southernmost tip of Washington, D.C., overlooking the Anacostia River, and then it joins the Potomac. So this was my crew. We all wear civilian clothes. And these are the big shots right here. This is here's the that man right there was one of the directors, and so anyway, all of this is the staff. These are the big shots. These are the enlisted people. And can you find me? There I am right here. So I was in charge of the photo lab, and the photo lab worked with the print shop. We had 4-color offset printing shop, and then a like a artist shop or drafting and drawing and all kinds of different types of art next door to us. So we were like three actual offices together as one. And so I ran the photo lab, and I learned 4-color separation technology and all of that stuff there. It was awesome. And then we also got to travel all over the South America. This place held a year-long course for dignitaries from every country that was part of the Pan American Union, which is the NATO of the West, is what they call it. So all of South America, Central America, Canada, and United States, and also Haiti and the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, of course, is part of the U.S., would send dignitaries there, government officials, high-level officers, for a year-long study program. And then we went on 2 trips, one for the U.S. and one for Central America, South America, and visit all these countries. So I got to go on all of those, which is awesome. I mean, who would get an assignment like that? I really did not expect that. Then I found this. Joe's getting promoted. Yeah. Notice that I have medical insignias on. Okay. So that was back when I was, yeah. I think that was probably, I don't know. He's got the caduceus right there as well. And then got awarded, got our awards. I got a Joint Service Commendation Medal, which is Air Force, Navy, and Army. Normally, you just get one. You don't get all 3 of them. So I got all 3 of them among these other folks. So that's pretty. I'm proud of that one. And I gave it to Nathan, and Nathan puts it on whenever he has to wear a suit to school. So I feel really good about that. That's really awesome. Anyway, let's see what else we got here. Now this is okay. You saw that one. These are lab prints, of course. This is it says this paper manufactured by Kodak. So it's a lab print. I actually printed that myself. This is a color version of that same one. Look at how it has faded. So What has faded here? Well, it looks like the cyan layer has faded. I don't see anything containing cyan anywhere, just about. So, and then I am right here, right there. And it was a tri-service type environment, so it was a lot of fun. And most of the time during the day at work, we just wore civilian clothes, unless it was like once a month we wear our uniforms. All right, let me see what else is here. And we're about to trim that and begin the process of creating the profile. Richard says, just for kicks, I profiled Strathmore inkjet texture paper with Print Prism as VFA, and it looks great, portraits especially. I'm going to try that next. For an icon to Pete Grobel says, check your auto maintenance setting option, system cleaning frequency. Yeah, there's an option for short. Exactly. I forgot about that. Yeah. There's also an option to stop the individual nozzle check. By that I mean each nozzle individually checked Pro 1000. I left mine on because I wanted to do that, because I'm not concerned about how long it takes to do that. It's not wasting ink. It's just checking each nozzle, make sure it's active. A higher place, my Pro 1000, I print every second day with QMH unclog tool. I do not get very many cleans. Yeah, as long as you print often, it just stops doing that. There you go. All right, let's trim this, and then we'll begin the actual process. Boy, that is thick. Whoops. Okay. So now we have our trimmed print. I'm going to lay it face down on my scanner. I'll try to center it as much as possible. You don't want to put it crooked. You want to put it as straight as possible. Sometimes, because my table, I think it's the scanner sits a little bit sort of off level a little bit. The prints tend to slide off sometimes, so you got to be careful with that. You don't want it sliding to a different position than what you originally had it as. So let's go ahead and open up Print Prism. I'll put it over here. Okay. And here we go. Okay, so again, I am not a full expert yet on this, so we'll see. I have the 8550 chosen here. So I'm going to do a new scan. This is, of course, when after you have already scanned it. If you already scanned something, you want to create the profile again. So let's go ahead and scan that. I'm going to choose my Epson 8550, select that, and scan. And it's going to open up on my other monitor. So let me pop this over here. You're going to get this. So what I do is I choose the scanner, I choose photograph and photo mode, and of course color. And I'm going to set it to 300, like so. You could do a preview. I'm just going to do the scan and begin. I forget you can't move it once the other little window is up. So it is going to scan that. It is scanning the original now, my printer says. I'm going to give it a name. So what is this paper? River Stone Satin Rag. Well, first of all, I'm going to do the Eco Tank 8550 River Stone. I can't type worth it. Darn. River Stone Satin Rag. Anything else we need to identify it with? I think that should be it. And save. All right, and there it is. So now we have our saved scan. I'm going to orient it so that the yellow, reddish, orange is up in the uppermost part, like so. I would like to have my whole screen filled with that. Okay, so now it says to detect the corners. It has detected all the corners, and it has detected all the little squares, everything, every little patch has been seen. Notice nothing is off center. You see the little squares in the middle? Everything has been detected. That's good. Sometimes you may have to manually do the corners. And in the video that he created, you see that very clearly done. So every little detection point is inside each one of those little patches. Okay. And that's what you want. Okay. So now I think we can go ahead and create the profile. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. And I want to make sure that it will be saved as the same. Of course, it has the previous one, which is not the one we want. So this is going to be the name that will be given to it in the in the Windows color folder for the profile. So I'm going to go ahead and paste the name in. So now we have EcoTank 8550 Staple Super. No, I don't want the Super Matte. Take that off. Staple. No. So we're going to put down. Oh, I see what happened. Yeah. So let's go ahead and rewrite that. River Stone Satin. River Stone Satin. It will remember the last name. That's what's happening here. So I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to enter it. Because I want my profile to be named correctly. There you go. .cm. Okay. And that is going to be it. I think that's good. Create profile. So now it's going to create the profile. And once that is done, it should be able to identify it. In other words, Q image should have it. And then we'll go ahead and set it up to print that standard image with that tough one. Again, I'll just recall the job like I did earlier. And that's all you need to do. Now, if for some reason the squares were not identified, each one of those little square patches did not have an identification mark in the center like this is showing right here, then you would have to manually set each corner. Okay. And that can happen. If you scan it upside down, you'll get a very, very funny profile. So make sure that your yellow colors are on the top and your dark colors are on the bottom, orientation wise. And that's it. I think it's done. We'll go ahead and close this. We'll open up QImage. And you could, if you would, if you wanted to, I prefer to do a check in Photoshop. Let's go ahead and do that. I'll show you how to do that real quick. Let me open up Photoshop. I'll show you what I'll explain what I'm trying to do here. So before you even commit to printing anything, and if you have Photoshop, you could do it in QImage, but Photoshop's is better. Soft proofing. So let Photoshop load. I'll pop it over there. Soft proofing shows you the effects of a profile on a certain type of paper on a specific printer. And it will sort of exaggerate a little bit how it will print. Okay. So you have to take that into consideration. Let Photoshop load. So we first get this. Again, this is another one of those tough, super tough images to print because it's very saturated. Oh, look at that. So if we were to do a gamut warning, so view gamut warning, look at that. All those areas that are gray are out of gamut. So they are beyond most printers' capabilities. Let's look at the same thing, but under the result of the, let me turn off that custom. And now we're going to open up the profile we just created. So this is off, preview is off. We're going to go ahead and click on that, and we'll look for ET, EcoTank 8550. Unlike QImage, where I can actually view the very last profile that I made automatically, this is not the same. So 8550 Riverstone stone. Did I? Yeah, rag, Riverstone rag. Okay. And now we're gonna look at it on the preview. You see that? The out of gamut colors. Notice right here, this is in gamut, so it's not changing at all, hardly. So this is good. Actually, this looks just like the previous ones that I did. All right, so we're done with that. That means the profile did not make everything look reversed or some crazy result. Now we can go to Photoshop, Red River. I'm sorry, QImage. What am I thinking? And again, as we did before, we'll look for that. We'll go to the automated print log. I want to do those two first, and then I will proceed to do something else. So as you can see, I've done this several times already. This one's the one I want. There you go. That's the one. Open, job. And I'm going to go ahead and add that profile. So we're going to search, browse, and I'm going to put down river. River. And there it is. Okay. Make sure 8550 presentation paper matte. No, that's not what we want. We want to add the semi-gloss. And again, we're going to add that profile. Let's browse again. I had it on the wrong paper. That's why I did that. No biggie. Redo that. River. And there's other. Um, Red River also has a river type paper. So now let's double check again. River stone, satin, rag. Okay. That's the Pro 100. Wait a minute. No, 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 no. Where's my paper? The one I just made. Let's do the date. Let's do it by date. Here we go, right here. I picked the one that I created for the Pro 100. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is 8550 in the correct Riverstone satin. Okay, so semi-gloss, and make sure that the printer is off, no color management. So options, advanced, there you go, off, no color management. Okay, print. Now once that loads, I'm going to load another image. Maybe we'll do a black and white one and then a colorful one, and we'll print that and see what we get. That is loading. So, you might say, well, I can do the same thing with my spectrophotometer. Well, if you have a spectrophotometer, by all means use it. But this is for people who don't want to spend. How much was the Color Monkey back then? $500. The i1 Pro 2 was $14.99. Yeah. So you buy your printer anyway, and then you can use whatever other printers you have to create that print, the chart, and then scan it here if you happen to have an 8550. So you have an 8550 for about $35. I think you buy the software and you're able to create profiles without having to spend $500 for a spectrophotometer or more even. Okay. Now let's go ahead and load. I gotta find, while that's printing, let me find something. Let me go to my AI right here. No more Halloween. We'll do something else. Yeah. Might try this one here. First of all, notice I have 2x3s going on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to print, fit to page, and just load this baby like that. Open it up. Do the exposure thing, and we'll sharpen it. This is a very high res image, so I'm going to sharpen it a bit more than I normally do. And that's it. I think we have enough saturation here. Yeah, that's fine. I don't want to overdo it. So we'll go back. Now, if I want to go ahead and not crop it, let's see. Yeah, it's not that much. It just got cropped a tiny bit. So we'll go ahead and print this. then I'm going to look for, that's got to load, it hasn't loaded yet. I want to look for something that has lots of strong red colors and orange and greens. Let me see what I can find. I want to test it. This is going to have your blue realm, cyan, greenish tones, some yellowish tones. But I want to do something with a lot of reds in it. I might have to leave this page and go to some other location here. Like maybe the AI images for live streams. Right there. That's the one I want. See what we can find. Wow. You see that sheen, very, very smooth and beautiful. I'm looking at the gray from almost black to almost white. There's no tonal difference. It's very linear. I can see the difference between that black and then the black. That dark, 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 almost black, and then the black. Yeah, that's very good. I can see, yeah, I can see 254. So 255 would be white, no ink. And I got to look really close at the, yeah. The darks are a little bit blocked. So I start, I lose maybe from number 8 to 0. It's all the same color. But look at the results. Amazing. So let's see what this print looks like now. And now I can come back and choose something else that might work best. So we'll remove that one. Maybe we'll do one of these sunsets. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Maybe this one. That's not a lot of... that doesn't have a lot of reds in it, but it's still pretty nice. Oh, here we go. Let me look beyond and see if there's anything better. Oh, let's do the, yeah, let's do this. One of these should work. How about this one here? Okay. But I want a border. I want a little bit of a border. Even though I'm not cropping, I'm going to add a border. There you go. So I'm going to actually crop it to that size. Watch what happens when I do not crop it. It's more longitudinal. So let's leave it like that. And then I want a score. Let me make sure that it has that score. Yep, 4. And, oh, wrong. Did I do this one? Which one did I do? That one. There we go. Okay, and then we'll check. And I can see the brush marks on there. This is AI generated, by the way. This is one of the art pieces that I'm going to be selling. And that's it. That looks good enough for me. It has reds, it has blues, it has greens, yellows, just about every color in the rainbow. Pinks, lavenders. Yeah. We'll send that. Got the right profile. Well, it shifted a little bit. Darn it. It shifted right here a little bit. But the rest is just gorgeous. So obviously, you know, this paper does not like the 8550. Unfortunately. Wow, it only happens at the very end. So maybe since we have a wide border here, maybe I'll be able to avoid that. And this is what happens. This is why you get that warning when you're printing borderless. And this is almost borderless. Papers are not supported their last inch or so. And they could shift, especially a slippery paper such as this. I'm going to trim it. But I unfortunately, I love those clouds right there. I'll be right back. This is going to load and begin printing. If I put a piece of paper down. I think it got caught. We'll have to do that again. I'm going to curve it a little bit. I want my trailing edge to be curved down. So next, done. Give that a try again. 8550 doesn't like thick papers. Okay. And their problem is fixed. I just trimmed it off. And no one's going to know. You see that? Yeah, the output, the results are beautiful. So kudos to Mike Cheney. Wow. Who would have thought? So there you go, folks. You saw it live. This is no trickery. What you see is what you get. What can I say? I think if you look it up, let me close Q image. Don't need that anymore. I'm going to look for print prism. DDI software. gives you all the verbal instructions here. And these are the supported scanner models. So the Epson LB 180, 160, 8550, 8550. I don't know what the difference is between those two. The same. LIDE, and the G600. He's going to add more. I want him to add the current Epson series photo V500 and higher photo printers, photo scanners. I mean. Got a little bit of a smudge right there in the corner. And that happens with this thick paper. I guess it's a head strike. So you could attempt the thick setting for it, but otherwise, absolutely glorious. Absolutely glorious. I'm going to go ahead and trim that off. It's like a quarter either side. Yeah, be careful. There you go. Other than that, it's pretty flawless. Of course, I wonder how the uh, Pro 1000 would handle this. I may just have to make a profile once I get off here and just print it. The Pro 1000 has vacuum advanced paper transport. So vacuum, what do they call it? It's not a full vacuum system, but it does help keep the paper flat for the last inch or so. So I'm going to go ahead and try that. But wow, this is amazing. And the image itself is wonderful. I print this on the Strathmore linen paper, and it's just fantastic. And then I frame that. All righty. Okay, let me see what else we have here. Yeah. Yes, they do. Yeah. So where can I load Prism software? You buy it from DDI, was it? Hang on. Hang on one second. I'm going to post it. You'll have to sort of hand copy it. You're not allowed to copy and paste or anything of the sort when you are a watcher. So here it is right here. So https://www.ddisof, in other words, ddisoftware.com, and then print prism. And don't do how it works. Just print prism alone is fine. Or if you want to read about it, then add how it works. So take a look at that. I'm going to go ahead and prepare my exit setup here. And I'm still wide open for any other questions you all may have. Now, he's going to set up for an affiliation with me. So, I mean, that's, again, allows me to earn a little bit of the, a percentage of the sales. So, but I would not ask you to wait until that happens. If you want to purchase it earlier than that, that's fine. Just letting you know. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see. Let me set this up. While you're at it, go ahead and ask anything else you may want to talk about. And I'll stay here, wait a few seconds here. Now, whether, these profiles match those produced by expensive spectrophotometers, just you can just see with your own eyes here what I was able to produce. Let me look at the very last one I made. Bottom one is the matte one. Top one is the semi-gloss finish. I have nothing to complain about. Seems to be pretty accurate. Yeah. And it's pretty wonderful. I'm going to try. Like my friend just said, to produce one using the Strathmore cloth, like the stuff that I use for my paintings, and then I frame them. That would be good, because I'm currently using one that I created simply with my spectrophotometer. This type of material right here. And this has a cloth-like surface to it, and it's just gorgeous. Linen. So I'm going to be making. Do I really need to? I already have a really good profile, but might as well try it. Might as well. And I'll use the Velvet Fine Art mode. Here are some others. If that doesn't, spit or spew 1920s, I don't know what does. This is that Art Nouveau era. Beautiful. And this is AI generated, by the way. It's gorgeous. I haven't done anything in Photoshop lately. I wonder if they did an update. Who knows? I need to put those up on my stairwell and see if I can finish filling up that space. Right, it's not. It's not. If you're a Mac user, sorry. I suspect possibly since he has that connection next door with the Mac guy, whether they will do coding for Mac use. That would be fantastic if they can do that. Well, not much you can do. Can you share with us why you need to store it? Again, I would, if it's, are you using OEM inks only? Or are you refilling those cartridges like I do with regular third-party inks? Other than keeping it inside a bag, sealed up, and hope it's not years later they're going to attempt to revive it. Not much you can do. Printers cannot be left off for a long time. They're not designed for that. Simply, I mean, you could help along by maintaining a certain level of moisture, and that can only be achieved inside a bag, a sealed container. Maybe even a cooler that can seal really good, and put some wet paper towels, put the printer in there, seal it up, and eventually the paper towels will evaporate and create a level of moisture. But again, why do you need to do this is what I would like to know. I would suggest let someone else use it. If they're willing to use it like it's supposed to be used often, then let someone else use it. Because there's no guarantee as to is it going to be alive when you try to restart it again a year later. That's asking really too much. Okay. If you can share that information, just go ahead and share it with us. I want to keep the old XP 15,000 for spare parts. Oh, okay. So that's it. Well, then in that case, hopefully not the printhead. Printheads on Epson printers are not something you can easily detach and pass around. No. OEM ink only in my original XP 15,000 has broken. Okay, so it's broken. So that's what I wanted to know. The tray does not do anything but grind. Okay, I remember now. Yeah, well, yeah, for parts, then mechanical parts, whatever you think is still good, you can go ahead and search to see if there's a manual for it. Not the how to use the printer, but the actual manual. You know what I'm talking about. And maybe it tells you how to, without any issues, take the printer apart and separate all the parts that you might need, that you might be able to use later on. Other than that, yeah. Okay, I thought you were planning on just not using it and hope to revive it later. Mm. Well, I mean, forget about the printhead. That's, that's gone. Okay. You could, it's very difficult to do. I would say, is it running on OEM, not running on chipless firmware? So the only other thing I would say is to, if you were running on chipless firmware, you can buy refillable cartridges. They don't have chips on them, and you don't need chips when you're running on chipless firmware. And fill it up with something like PSO Flush from Inkjet Mall. And let me type it down. And then just clean cycle until you have nothing but pink on your nozzle check. That will clean out the printhead, and then you just store it with that liquid still in it. Okay, let me write it down. That's the name, PSO Flush and inkjetmall.com. And then you're going to have to order from eBay refillable cartridges for it. They're sponge cartridges, but it doesn't matter. You're not trying to print here. You just want to flush the ink out of it, and that will render it absolutely ink free. And if you ever want to remove the printhead, to say the printhead is perfectly fine, and where the hell are you going to find another printhead for it, right? Impossible. So you can do that and then clear the printhead out of any ink. And then if for some odd reason, we're just talking about the printhead now, if for some odd reason in the future, your new one, which is not going to do anyway, I guarantee you, printhead is going to last. But just in case, you have a printhead that has been filled with PSO Flush, and it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. All it needs now is just cartridges with ink. You are aware that when you refill uh, uh, XP 15,000 cartridges, um, you cannot ever let them go empty. But that's besides the point. I know you're printing on OEM only, so no need to even get into those details. Yeah, chipless firmware just simply renders the system reporting that is always full. Okay. And chipless does not just mean that, it literally means chipless. You don't no longer need chips. It remembers what each channel's colors is and does not expect any information or identification from the chips that you would normally expect. Okay, so there's no need to even worry about that. So, all right, I think that's going to be it, right? Everybody, I hope they enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed watching the Print Prism demo. I hope you enjoyed looking at my little flashback I found the other day. I never knew I even had those photos up there. I was cleaning out my dresser surface. I have too much stuff accumulated there. And so my wife says, "Oh, you probably got about an inch of dust in there." I said, "Yeah, shit, don't bother me." So I was cleaning away and I found those pictures. And so I thought I would share them with you, a little bit of my past. All right, so that's going to be it. I hope everyone enjoyed today's live stream. Yesterday's live stream that I posted from the past was actually from 2019, like a week ago. Okay, so a week or two ago. So hopefully you're enjoying those. Please watch those. Um, I would love to sit and watch 3 hours of one of those myself just to see what the heck was I talking about back in 19 in year 2019. What was I talking about back then? I think I will do that some evening when I'm cannot go to sleep or something. Anyway, all right, that's going to be it. Thank you so much again. We will see you the next week. Bye bye, everyone.